So in this screencast, you're going to be learning how to calculate how much tip to leave on a bill. So the best way to do this is by just jumping right into a word problem, because most of these problems will be in word problem form. And it says, Jillian and Brooke go to lunch together. Their total bill is $25. They want to leave a 20% tip. How much tip will they leave? How much money will they leave altogether? So, the first thing you need to do when you're approaching a problem like this is to take the formula that Miss Meckery was talking about in the previous lesson, and that's that a part over a whole it equals the percentage that you're trying to calculate over 100. So, now we need to look at what we have. We know that our total bill is 25, so we have our whole, and we also know that we need to leave a 20% tip, so we have our percentage. So that means we're looking for our part. And our part, we're going to set a variable so that we're trying to calculate the tip. So our x value is going to be x equals the amount of tip money. So when we plug all of our information in, we get that x, so our tip money over 25, so the tip money out of our whole is 25, is equal to 20 over 100 because it's 20%. 20% written as a fraction is 20 over 100. When we know Miss Meckery taught us that when we see this, we need to cross multiply. So we cross multiply x times 100 and we cross multiply 20 times 25. When you do x times 100, you get 100x, right? And when you get 20 times, or when you do 20 times 25, you get 500. So your next line is going to read 100x equals 500. To solve for x, you are experts at this by now. You divide both sides by 100. And you don't even need a calculator or anything to do this math, because then you do 500 divided by 100 is 5. So x equals 5. But we can't forget we're dealing with money. So x really is equal to $5. Okay, so this means that our tip money, our total tip, we should write that, our total tip is $5. So they will leave a $5 tip. Okay, now that's not it though. This is a two-part question. So now we need to know how much money they will leave altogether. So in order to find the total, you need to add the tip to the initial amount of the bill. So total is the bill plus the tip. We know that the bill, it says right here, is $25, and we just found out that the tip is $5. So the total is $25 plus 5. And that's easy. 25 plus 5 is equal to $30. So that's how you do this problem. You just have to take it step by step. You use what Miss Meckery taught you about solving proportions, and you plug in the values that you know. Okay, so let's make it a little bit harder and let's use some bigger numbers. So we're going to go to this next problem, which says, Miss Queen and Miss Meckery and Miss Cy went to dinner at Applebee's. Their total bill is $53.46, and they want to leave an 18% tip. How much tip will they leave, and how much money will they leave altogether? Oh, that's a typo. Okay, so you start it this, oh my goodness, you start it the same way. All right, so you take this same equation that, oh my goodness, this keeps happening, I'm sorry, that Miss Meckery gave us yesterday, and that's the first thing that we need to know. And then we also need to define our variable, right? And we said before that our variable is going to be the x it is equal to our tip money, because that's what we're trying to find. Again, this keeps happening. I'm very sorry. So, now we just start plugging in the values that we know. So we know that the total bill is $53.46, so that's going to be our whole. Total and whole are the same thing. We also know that they want to leave an 18% tip, so we know the percentage of the tip. We're going to put that in this area. So far, this is what we have. We plugged in our $53.46 and we plugged in our 18%. Then, just like Ms. Meckery said before, we cross multiply. So we get x times 100, which is 100x, and that now we have to calculate 53.46 times 18. So in this case, I would advise you to use a calculator, and when you do that, you get 962.28. But we're not done, because we still have to solve for x and find what the tip is. So in order to solve for x, again, we have to divide both sides by 100 to get that x alone. And when you do that, you get 962.28 divided by 100 is 9.6228. But we're dealing with money, so when you're dealing with money, you need to round to the nearest cent. When you round 9.6228 to the nearest cent, you get 9.62, or $9.62. Don't forget your units. Okay? Now, so again, just like we said above, this is our tip, right? So now we're looking for how much money they will leave altogether. So we said before, the total is the bill plus the tip. So now you plug in. Our bill is $53.46, like we said right here, and the tip we just determined is $9.62, and you add them together. And when you add them together, you get $63.08. And don't forget, oh my goodness, don't forget that you should write it out in complete sentences. So we're going to say, they left $9.62 for tip, and they left $63.08 all together. Okay, so those are two examples of how to solve word problems involving tip. And so practice this with your homework, and I will see you in class tomorrow.